With an NC? With an ND? Okay, so we're going to go through those. Anybody else used one of them? You've used one. Which one have you used?
CC by, not with the non-commercial.
CC by SA you've used, I know you've used that one. So we've got a CC by SA for sure. Anybody else used a Creative Commons license? Has anybody taken material off the internet that has got a Creative Commons license on it? Yeah? Which license? Do you remember which license it might have been? Share alike, so CC by SA. Okay. So you've got a couple of examples. There's a bit of a trend to using Creative Commons licenses as an alternative to using all rights reserved. In an all rights reserved license, you can basically do nothing but read it. And if you finish with your print copy, you can give it to one other person who can read it and give it to somebody else who can read it. But you cannot duplicate it, you cannot put it on the internet, you can do nothing else with it. If you quote from it, you can use your normal rules about quoting, you can use fair use, which is a small piece of the book, but not too many small pieces. One small piece is good, many is not good. There's very limited use that you can make of a book. But you are getting some examples now of the book being published in print form under an all rights reserved license where you pay for the book, and the same book, exactly the same book, is being published on the internet under a CC by something license, and that one you can download free of charge. So long as you keep it on your machine, you can give it to other people free of charge, and that's fine. You can duplicate it, don't start printing it, because then you're competing in the print market. So you can publish the same piece of material under both all rights reserved and under the Creative Commons license. Let me hesitate at this point to give you the disclaimer. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not giving any legal advice this afternoon. I'm helping you with a bit of a discussion to formulate some questions maybe. My advice to you is that if you're going to publish some material, ask a lawyer. Ask somebody in your institution who's the legal counsel and put all of this stuff to them. If they don't know the subject well enough, put them in contact with me and I'll find a lawyer who will give them some advice as well. So please, this is not a legal session. I'm not a lawyer and I'm not giving you legal advice. However, we're going to be talking about legal stuff for the rest of the at least in half an hour or so. And you need to ask me questions as we go along. I'll give you the copies of the slides, so the references are, you don't need to write them down. Carl's done quite a bit of work in copyright. When we started this, I was asked to look into copyright from the perspective of making materials available for Commonwealth countries. So we came up with some of these documents that if you write some of this stuff into your copyright laws in your country, you will be able to use materials more freely that are covered by copyright. For example, right now you cannot take a book, convert it to Braille and to publish it. You would have to pay for the rights to convert it to Braille. Then you have to pay for royalty rights on every copy of the Braille material you use. Plus you'll have to pay for the printing of the Braille materials. You will pay much more than what the publisher would even pay to produce the material. So there are all sorts of flexibilities that your law could provide for you to reduce the cost of copyright quite legally. So we started out in that area and then we moved down towards this area here that we're talking about, which is more about open licenses. I found that at some point we were going into using Creative Commons, but then I found that nobody knew what these things meant. So I started asking questions, and that's where this one came out. As far as OERs go, there are quite a few collections of materials that you can look on the web and you can find. I've got open them out there, of course, because that's very nice material. Those are courses. MIT has got materials on the site, but those are more classroom-based resources. So if you're looking for courses, those are typical places that you can go and look for them. We're going to cover very briefly all rights reserved, and then we'll go through some Creative Commons, and that's where I need to have your questions as we go through this. For all rights reserved, I've already mentioned it. You may not reproduce the material. Fair use or fair dealing applies. You can take a little piece of the material, you can copy it, you can use it in a classroom environment, but probably your Copyright Act does not make provision for distance education, which means that as soon as you copy that piece and send it to a distance education student, you have to now pay royalties, unlike the classroom. If your law said something different, if your law specified that an online classroom is to be treated the same as a face-to-face classroom, you wouldn't have that problem. So if the people who draft the contract, the legislation for copyright are in contact with you more, we can help as well to some extent. We can draft the legislation, they can draft the legislation so that there's more freedom in this. The important thing is you may not take any of this material and put it on the internet. That's without a doubt an infringement. Now, Creative Commons is your alternative. Creative Commons is a non-governmental organization. It's a non-profit organization in the US.